We are ready to go with Caesars. If you, who's ever leading the presentation, introduce yourself, your panel members, and 40 minutes, and after that, I'll give you the 5-minute warning. Thank you.
Will do so. Mr. Chairman and members of the Location Committee, my name is Gary Luffman. I'm the Chairman, CEO, and President of Caesars Entertainment. I'm joined at the table this afternoon by my colleagues Greg Miller, who leads our domestic development efforts, Jan Jones, our Head of Political Affairs, Fred Keaton, third to my left here, who is our Chief Diversity Officer, and then finally we're pleased to have our host, Mayor Mike Queenan from Woodbury. I've been the CEO of Caesars Entertainment for 12 years now, and I'm proud to introduce you, members of the board and guests, to Caesars Entertainment.
For over 75 years, Caesars Entertainment has been synonymous with excellence in the casino resort industry. With 53 properties worldwide, our track record is unmatched. Our experience ensures that Caesars New York will generate more revenue, more jobs, and more community benefits for New York than any other proposal. And here's why. The Caesars brand is internationally recognized, representing world-class casino entertainment and luxury hospitality offerings. We put an emphasis on being a community partner and sustainable design that complements the surrounding area. We will seamlessly integrate with the community through partnerships with local businesses and attractions. Caesars New York is situated on the optimal site location, approximately 50 miles from New York City, with proximity to the MTA commuter rail and Stewart International Airport. With a strong brand, unrivaled loyalty network, optimal location, and community-integrated design, Caesars New York is poised to be the next success story for the state of New York.
I'm proud to be joined this afternoon by several members of our development team. I've introduced Greg Miller, Jan Jones, and Fred Keaton. We're also joined by Major Darrell Londo, a proud West Point graduate, who will be leading our development and operations here in New York. David Satz, the head of our government relations activities, Mike Saltzman, deputy leader of our development, and Rico Izagiri, who's been working closely here in Orange County with our mayor and his colleagues and members of the community. They've overseen $3 billion of development on Caesars' behalf in the course of the last several years, including projects in Ohio, Maryland, New Jersey, and Nevada, and I'm very proud to have them here where they've been on the ground now for some time. Members of the board, I'm not the first to say to you over the last 2 days that we believe we're the best potential licensee for the state of New York, and particularly for Orange County, but of course I do believe that to be the case for several demonstrable reasons. We believe that Caesars is the entity that can bring the greatest revenue to the state of New York and to its citizens. We believe we will generate more jobs and have greater community benefit than any other potential licensee for demonstrable reasons. First, Caesars has been in operation now for 48 years. The brand is the premier brand in gaming. It's known to gaming and resort enthusiasts around the world. We began calling on customers in places like coastal China in 1966. We have a database of some 46 million American gaming enthusiasts who we solicit to visit us around the country, and we get to know them nearby to where they live and encourage them to visit us in second, third, and fourth locations. Indeed, nearly half of the revenue that the company generates, some $4.5 billion, comes from our guests seeing us in locations other than those nearest to where they live. And we believe our location in the Woodbury area would be an ideal visit, not just for those who live proximate to Woodbury, but for those who know us elsewhere and would enjoy a visit to this beautiful area of New York. We believe, indeed, Woodbury is the best location. It enjoys some 13 million visitors to Woodbury Commons already. Many of these are international visitors, well known to Caesars, gaming enthusiasts who are in the area already, and we believe the presence of a premier Caesars resort would attract their interest profoundly. There are $10 million of community benefits available through upfront payments to our host community, and $20 million put forward for improvements in the regional traffic issues already manifest in the Woodbury area as a result of Woodbury Commons. And finally, we have a community-integrated design and operating strategy. You'll hear more about this from Greg Miller shortly, but it involves the creation of 4,500 direct jobs and some 10 million increase in annual visitation as a result of the development. Now, with respect to Caesars as a corporation, we are the world's largest, most experienced, and diverse location-based entertainment company. We operate 53 properties in 7 countries. More than 100 million people visit us annually. We provide in excess of $1 billion of tax revenue to our local jurisdictions. We've built some $3 billion in new developments just in the last few years. More than 70,000 people work for us across 7 countries. We operate some 44,000 hotel rooms, 300 retail shops, including some of the highest yielding retail space in North America at the Forum Shops, Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. We operate 1.6 million square feet of meeting space and some 390 restaurants, bars, and clubs. The joke being, given my waist size, that I visited nearly all of them more than once. In addition, we have a number of other brands besides the Caesars brand, including the Horseshoe brand, the Harrah's brand, Flamingo, Planet Hollywood, and of course, the World Series of Poker, well known to poker enthusiasts around the world. Caesars will bring all of its best assets and its renowned reputation for premier entertainment to New York. Celine Dion is the longest running and highest grossing entertainer in one theater residence in the United States, along with Elton John, Rod Stewart, Shania Twain, and a host of other entertainers resident with us, including most recently Britney Spears. We have one of the most significant headliner-oriented entertainment programs in the world. We would bring this, along with our world-class history for hospitality and entertainment, to New York. What the company is perhaps most famous for is its Total Rewards loyalty program. This program was the outgrowth of a very specific problem that I tackled when I came to the company 15 years ago as a recovering academic. And the problem I was charged to try to address was, how do you get customers to visit a casino when there is another, perhaps even nicer casino just next door? At this time in 1998, we owned one casino in Las Vegas, Harrah's Las Vegas, which cost $280 million. And just down the street a few months later, Steve Wynn opened the Bellagio, which cost $1.9 billion, at the time referred to as the sort of place God would build if he had the money. How could we encourage a visitor who could walk into the Bellagio to instead walk into our modest, decades-old Little Harrah's Las Vegas, when the same type of games were available, in one case in a modest surrounding, in another in a more opulent setting? What we did was to build a system that asked repeatedly what our customers preferred in their visits, gathered information from their experiences with us, and made predictions about what sorts of things would interest them most the next time they would come to see us. Perhaps it was a buffet or fine dining. Perhaps it was showroom entertainment or golf, a spa visit or shopping, a room overlooking the strip or a room overlooking the pool. All of these minor differences building into the preferences and selections of our guests so that we could become on a more intimate basis with each of them, even if the product was challenged. The success of this program, applied to more than 45 million American adults, facilitated superior performance in our businesses that allowed us to then go in and selectively improve our portfolio, build new, more opulent facilities, enhance our brand list, and have the beneficial combination of very high-quality properties and a terrific loyalty program. We will bring the Total Rewards network with us to Caesars New York. We will have 45 million Americans who will be asked to come and visit Caesars New York almost immediately. We'll bring enthusiasts of the Chicago Cubs into the New York area when they play the Mets, and then have them visit Woodbury. We'll invite people who have an interest in the activities of the broader community to come and see us here on special events, on package trips, vacations, and leisure activities of all sorts. This type of demand stimulation that this system permits is unparalleled really in the hospitality world in any case, and leads us to be able to perform at a higher level head-to-head against any of our competitors around the United States. One of the good things about the casino business is that a tremendous amount of data is available to us and to third parties to analyze to see whether, in fact, these claims of operational superiority are valid. Two measures are prominent in this case. One is whether one performs at or above one's fair share of revenue in the market, as judged by returns to the number of gaming positions each competitor operates. What you see before you here are 4 examples: Harrah's Joliet near Chicago, Harrah's New Orleans, Southern Indiana on the Indiana side of Louisville, and a collection of Midwest markets where we ask, compared to others in the same markets, how do each of our slot machine and table game positions perform on a revenue generation basis when compared with our peers? And as you see, we enjoy anywhere from a 20 to 40% premium head-to-head, like-to-like, in the same markets. If you take Harrah's Joliet as an example, and the results released just a few days ago by the Illinois Gaming Board, you'll see Harrah's Joliet at about $17 million of revenue, our competitors at closer to $11 million in revenue, despite having precisely similarly situated facilities with the same size gaming operations in both instances. Another way to consider this problem is a before and after with the same asset. A few years ago, we bought Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. It had just been rebranded, having been opened initially as the Aladdin Casino Resort. It's opposite the beautiful City Center development owned by MGM on the Las Vegas Strip. In the 2 or 3 years since we bought it, its revenues have improved by 34%, and its cash flows have grown by 162%. And the principal reason for this is we made this property available to the 45 million American participants in Total Rewards. We offered them trips to this new resort. We programmed it with better entertainment and improved its food offering. And all of a sudden, the same building in the same location facing the same competitors enjoyed this kind of improvement in performance. So it's this kind of demonstrable evidence that we put behind the claim that given the opportunity to operate in this market, we can and will produce superior performance. Let me turn briefly to the site itself. Woodbury is a terrific site. I sit on the board of Coach, the maker of fine luxury accessories for men and women. Coach has an outlet store in Woodbury Common. It has for years and years been the highest performing store in the Coach chain, and I've always admired the tremendous productivity of this retail outlet. We propose a casino in partnership with our local land developer situated very near to Woodbury Common, 51 miles away from New York City, nearby public transportation, and in what I consider to be an absolutely both ideal and idyllic location. It's a beautiful spot. The vistas, as you'll see momentarily, are fantastic, and it's proximate to the largest number of customers and gaming enthusiasts one can find. And I would argue, most importantly for policy purposes, the largest percentage of visitors visiting this location will come from areas outside the local catchment area. This site will enjoy greater international visitation, regional visitation, broad New England visitation than any other site, in my view, being proposed. And for that reason, when we were given the opportunity to work with Mayor Queenan and our development partners, we were very enthusiastic about this site as the best site for Caesars New York. Since our work began, we knew that we needed to make our resort a part of a broader tourism gateway to upstate New York. Upstate New York is a spectacularly beautiful site for visitation. It offers attractions and leisure activities of virtually all sorts. And we began putting together a process to integrate our resort development with what was already available in upstate New York. We've now signed 348 partnerships with local food providers, restaurateurs, and spirit businesses. We've established partnerships with Orange County and its officials. We'll be marketing all of the attractions and amenities of this beautiful area to our guests and ask them to consider a visit that has much more to it than simply a casino. In this sense, the casino is much more outward-looking than was traditionally the case. When I started in this business, I would come into a room like this and say something like, this is the sort of room a casino guy would really like. There's no windows and the exits are poorly marked. That's not today's world of a casino. In today's world, we want the casino to put itself out to the local community. We don't want to offer literally everything one might need in the building. We want to encourage visitors to go and take advantage of all the things the local community already has on offer. And in this area of Woodbury and this area of upstate New York, we believe there is a tremendous amount that would inspire our visitors. We experience this every day at Harrah's New Orleans, where we sit next to the French Quarter. We collaborate with the great culinary life of New Orleans, the great artistic life, entertainment life, theatric life of this wonderful American city, and turn ourselves out to that community in very much the same way we would choose to do so here. Turning now to the way the building would be built and the process for our development, if we were to be so fortunate as to receive a license, we would do so with union jobs, with union agreements, many already in place, that would involve some 1,500 construction jobs and 3,000 permanent, largely union jobs. The average compensation would be high. Casino employment is a remunerative business for those who work with us as a consequence both of salaries, hourly wages, and gratuities, and would average in excess of $50,000 per FTE, including our benefit programs that I've described. We have in place a neutrality agreement with the New York Hotel Trade Council. We've worked with the Hudson Valley Building and Trades Council. We've worked with all the relevant labor groups to position ourselves to be well prepared to proceed in the event we're able to do so. We will prioritize local residents and businesses in our work. Prominent among them are our veterans. A few years ago, we began a process at Caesars called Enlisting Heroes. Major Londo leads that effort on our behalf as a proud veteran of the United States Army. We have, just in the last 18 months, hired 900 returning American servicemen and women into our employ, and we total into the thousands of American service veterans who work with us across the country. 45 local veteran service organizations attended a forum that was recently hosted to talk about how we would pursue that here locally. We will develop an education and training partnership with the Hudson Valley Education Consortium. We're working with residents of Orange, Sullivan, Ulster, and Dutchess counties. We have $50 million to spend with regional businesses in the operation of the resort, and we've hosted a number of leaders who would be working with us to that end. So this will truly be a business integrated in the community. Now, I would suggest, as you'll hear in a moment, you don't have to take my word for this. It's, of course, I am an advocate of this proposal. You'll hear in a moment from several of our neighbors, partners, and friends from the many other communities in which we operate, and you can hear directly from them about how we've been experienced as a partner over many years. When I left academic life and I came into the gambling business, the one issue that I've spent the most amount of time addressing more than any other is the question of problem gambling and the vulnerability of those who suffer from an inability to restrain themselves in how much gambling they pursue. This is a big issue. We have to take it very seriously. None of the 70,000 people who work with me would ever want to go home at the end of a shift and say to their family, I somehow today facilitated a problem gambler doing great harm to themselves or their family. So under Jan Jones' leadership, beginning some time ago, in fact more than 10 years ago, we established the industry's first ever responsible gaming program. That began with what at the time was rather controversial, and that is a statement, or if you will, an admission that this is a real problem, and the industry has to take it very seriously. And the best way to do that is to put parameters around one's own behavior as to how we will engage with our customers in the most responsible possible fashion, and then train, support, and motivate our employees in the pursuit of that end. So we established responsible gaming programs as the first in the industry. We built the first database that could check to see if a self-admitted problem gambler was coming back to see us and could restrict both marketing and credit services to such a player. We have spent tens of millions of dollars leading this industry's efforts. In 2006, several years after this began, the American Gaming Association decided that this was something that should be extended to the industry broadly and established a somewhat less stringent set of rules on behalf of the industry several years after we led this direction. Our commitment to responsible gaming is part of a broader statement of commitment known as our Code of Commitment, one of the first things that each of our employees learns when they join us. It speaks to the standard that we set for the way in which we will behave with each of our critical constituencies, our employees, our guests, of course, the communities in which we operate, and the environment broadly. The company has been widely rewarded and recognized for its environmental leadership, the support it's given for its communities, our philanthropic leadership, having been seen as one of the highest cash donors of any Fortune 500 company to charitable causes over the years, and the care of our guests and our employees. We will bring this code proudly to Orange County and to Woodbury. Now, to hear this from people who have worked with us over the years, please indulge me a moment in a brief video.
I think the surrounding businesses have really benefited from Horseshoe being here.
When I was mayor, I had an annual event called the Mayor's Corporate Challenge, where I would ask corporations to release their employees for a day to do civic projects around the city, and Caesars participated in that.
Horseshoe is one of those shining stars for us that we use as an example when we're trying to recruit new companies to the region. They work with community officials and they work with neighborhoods to find out what's important to this community.
They've gone way above and beyond, even in the downtime, to help our employees, to help our community. And I think that they exemplify exactly what community and what family are about.
You know, you've got employees that want to give back to the community, and Harrah's New Orleans has been able to capture that spirit.
Harrah's is a tremendous partner with a social responsibility that's built into the core of their mission and their very DNA.
For our 17-year history, Caesars Foundation, its leaders, its staff have been the single most important community partner to Fitch. We would not be where we are today
I think they've got a proven track record all over the country. They do things right. They're a very classy organization.
I've just been blown away by their commitment to diversity, to inclusion, to making all elements of the city feel part of the casino.
They have sent us to many networking, leadership, business events. They recently sent our brother to a mini MBA program, anything to kind of expand on the knowledge that we already have.
I would tell somebody who was looking to partner with Caesars that it has only been a positive relationship for us personally and for Cleveland.
We've put more than half of the new employees that have been hired at the Horseshoe Casino are Baltimore City residents.
To be one of the 1,600 team members chosen to work there was incredible.
Breadth of opportunities at Caesars has absolutely made it an outstanding place to work.
Certainly from an economic impact, they've generated millions of dollars into the economy.
The way it's happening and what's taking place has been mind-blowing.
I can't underscore the positive impact that they've had on us.
If you're looking for someone who is actually concerned with how they fit into a community, Caesars would be your partner.
The whole bottom line of it is, Caesars is the best, no question.
What you want in a gaming partner is a partner that has such a grasp of the industry and that is known for their integrity, for their professionalism, for their marketing sophistication, and for their willingness to partner with you to drive success to the destination as a whole. And that's what we have found with Caesars.
Development of these very complicated projects requires tremendously talented development executives, and I was very lucky to hire one, Greg Miller, a number of years ago. As he's been with me these last several years, he's built billions of dollars worth of complicated projects, most recently the world's largest observation wheel, known as the High Roller in Las Vegas. He worked at Universal Studios, where he built a big part of their Orlando developments as well as their Barcelona developments, and he's worked very hard to overcome a Notre Dame education. Greg Miller.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, members of the Facility Location Board, for having us today. It's my privilege to introduce you all to Caesars New York. Caesars New York is our proposed luxury resort, which we believe is going to be a game-changing addition to the community of Woodbury. We expect to spend $880 million on our project. It's going to feature 300 luxury hotel rooms, suites, and villas, and it's going to include 64 luxury villas, which we believe we do as well or better than anyone in the world. We're going to include 6 restaurants in our program that are generally going to be outward facing, as Gary described as we've evolved our development approach here. We've already got interest from Nobu, from Gordon Ramsay, from other people who we've already partnered with effectively at Caesars in Las Vegas, who are very interested in being part of this project. And of course, we're going to have a world-class, sophisticated gaming program with 2,560 slot machines, 190 table games, and a 50-table World Series of Poker poker room that we would position as our flagship of our world-leading World Series of Poker brand along the East Coast. Finally, we're going to add a flexible meeting and entertainment space that we can use to host concerts, weddings, other events that we believe would be very beneficial to the community. And of course, we'll augment all of this with a luxury spa and fitness center. To provide a little bit of context, our site, our team actually, is what's going to be needed to accomplish the project itself. Gary had already mentioned that we've done $3 billion with our internal team of work over the last 5 years. We're going to augment that team with people we believe are uniquely qualified to help succeed in our goals for making Caesars New York a world-class facility. The design architect we've chosen to partner with is Elkus Manfredi. They're based in the Northeast. They're based in Boston for you Yankee fans. I apologize for that in advance. And they've done a tremendous amount of work with world-class brands in developing luxury destinations. They've worked for Disney on several projects, including their cruise ship projects, their Downtown Disney project. They work with the Peninsula Hotel Group and have done many of their projects, including the very well-known Peninsula in Chicago, and are very accomplished, very creative at developing sophisticated resorts. We're complementing them on the landscape design side with Sasaki. Sasaki is a firm that is, again, world-renowned. They've got over 500 awards that really reflect their commitment to celebrating the intrinsic landscaping, the indigenous character of local landscaping, as opposed to introducing something faux into an environment. They were part of the Beijing Olympics, part of the Lincoln Memorial Landscape and Reflecting Pool, and we found them to be a tremendous partner in beginning to shape the vision around how we take what's already an amazing locale and make it something that really comes together as a destination resort. And finally, while perhaps a bit mundane, but as important as the other two legs of the stool here, we're partnering with TRC on the traffic and civil engineering side. They are a local-based firm in New York. They have a tremendous amount of experience in this specific locale, and we'll go through a little bit of detail in a few moments on the results of their work and how it's embedded in our proposal. As we start to understand the proposal a little bit better, it's useful just to have some context and look at our 115-acre site. The site itself features beautiful terrain. There's 50 acres of wetlands that are right in the middle of the site itself, and we've very intentionally chosen to consolidate and condense our development on the left-hand side of the chart in front of you on about 11 acres, about 11 and a half acres of land. So we have 2.1 million square feet of development on 11.5 acre footprint. So we could preserve and celebrate the balance of the terrain as something compatible with our view of a luxury destination resort. You'll notice that we don't have surface parking on this site, and it's something, again, that we are very confident will meet and exceed the expectations of our guests as they come to Caesars New York. We've talked previously in the presentation about the access to the transportation systems. On the right-hand side of the chart up here, it's a little bit subtle, you'll see that the Harriman train station, which is already widely used, is directly contiguous to our site, and we, of course, will be shuttling guests who would choose to come by train from the city or New Jersey or wherever they come from to the site. We'll be able to shuttle them directly because this truly is adjacent to our site. And you'll also notice in our site that in the site in total, as we consolidated the site on the upper left-hand side, we went and we acquired an additional parcel to the north of, or to the top of the parcel here to locate our hotel. As is the case on every large, complicated development project, each site comes with constraints. This site, the core of the site came with a constraint that prohibited the development of hotels, so we acquired the adjacent site and put our 300-room hotel project there. You can see it just to the upper part of the dotted line. And in total, we're really confident that this is just going to be a special experience for our guests as they come here from both local jurisdiction, from the local market, and from international locales and from throughout our domestic network. This image basically takes a step back and gives you a vantage point of the destination in 3 dimensions, and again, how it integrates into what's already a beautiful locale. As our guests arrive at the project, it's really important for us to really celebrate the really exuberant and at some level indulgent luxury of what the Caesars brand really means. So we've developed this welcome porte-cochere as something that we believe does that. The lower end here, this is actually a 50-foot tall colonnade that people are going to come up to. Just these grand columns, this colonnade that welcomes people to Caesars New York. And the rest of the architecture, again, we believe is very sophisticated, as I'm sure all of your applicants do. But we're confident this will achieve and communicate the goals that we have for our brand. Of course, as you go into the casino, at its core, a casino has to be a great, fun place. Gary had already mentioned this room doesn't have a lot of windows and ways to look in and out, and our project will. But our project's also going to be very fun. It's not going to be serious. It's going to be something that give our guests the escape that they're looking for when they come to any entertainment destination, whether it's casino gaming or any of the forms of entertainment. That's what people are looking for. And our experience through our network that Gary had described previously makes us uniquely qualified to really stay on top of what is it that people care about. And let's make sure we're creating a fun place. I mean, that's really what it's all about for us. Of course, we've mentioned a few times the fact that we're going to be bringing people in from overseas. We're going to be bringing people in from throughout the U.S. We already have an unparalleled track record of bringing people throughout the country to our different properties. We're 100% sure we're going to do that here. We are 100% sure that we understand the expectations of our guests when they come here. So when our guest comes to, this is one of our standard rooms, and you'll see the guest there is looking out, enjoying the vista across the property right there. We're going to develop a luxury hotel room that we know these guests would be excited to come to Woodbury and enjoy. We're going to complement that with our mixed-use, multi-purpose event space that I described before. We'll be able to accommodate 1,333 seated guests for a concert or another like event, or up to 4,000 people of standing room for a concert here. And, you know, the Caesars brand certainly has a reputation for high levels of entertainment quality, and we will be able to deliver it here. But we'll also be able to host weddings, corporate meetings, incentive events, things that we know are very useful to our guests and will bring people to the market here. Our estimate is that 83% of the revenues from the project itself are going to come from outside of 30 minutes away from the project. And we know that we have to have amenities like this that are going to service those guests. And of course, we'll have our World Series of Poker events that will be hosted in this room as well as our main poker room. So this room, in its final form, should we be chosen, would be on national TV with ESPN and our circuit events that are widely publicized. Gary had mentioned earlier our code of commitment, and it's something that's very, very important to us. And our commitment to environmental stewardship is certainly a very, very important part of that. Our application committed that we would achieve a minimum of LEED Silver. I want to be very, very clear that that is not the limits of our aspiration. We aspire for this facility to open as LEED Gold. We've opened, our last 4 facilities we've opened have all met LEED standard, and in fact, Baltimore, which we opened on August 26th, achieved LEED Gold. And similarly, in that process, we committed to the state that we would achieve a minimum of LEED Silver. We want to make sure we're 100% sure we can deliver whatever we commit. And in fact, we exceeded that commitment to the state of Maryland and achieved LEED Gold, and were awarded that last week. Beyond that, as we operate the facility, we have a very well-organized Code Green project or program where our employees are essentially the font of ideas on how we can improve our performance, and the result of that, you can see on this chart here, is that we've experienced a 21% reduction in carbon emissions, including from our legacy facilities. I'm not going to dwell on the next chart in a lot of detail, but it's just a quick snapshot of our internal process as we go through and think through and start to design these facilities, where sensitivity to the environment, because that's one of our commitments, is something that we bake in right up front. And you'll see we have walking paths and we have photovoltaic, we have the reflective roofing, all of the things that our experience over the last several years have told us will be important for us to exceed our commitments to you and meet our goal of being LEED Gold. Finally, traffic. Traffic is certainly one of the most important issues that relate to our proposal. It's not an issue that we as a casino company view ourselves as having to check the box or somehow make it through. It's something that without solving the traffic issues that currently exist at exit 131 off of the 17, we simply won't reach our financial goals. We understand that. We acknowledge that. I'd mentioned earlier we've been working with TRC, our traffic and civil engineering partner, to develop solutions. The solutions that are outlined here that I'll go through in a moment, we've already had numerous meetings with the New York Department of Transportation. In fact, I believe our application had a letter from Region 8 of the DOT that suggested that the improvements we've proposed here would more than offset the impacts of our project. And it's very important. As we go in, we will actually dramatically improve the existing conditions there. And it's not something to be lost, certainly wasn't with the Department of Transportation, that this is an important issue that would have to be solved. Now, I don't know if the other applicants who are north or south of us are going to solve the issue at this specific exchange, but we know, for instance, at the exit 131, that 60% of our guests we expect are going to come either coming from the north to the south, exiting off of 87 and coming to that exit, or coming from the south along exit 87. So we simply have to solve this, and our $20 million financial commitment is believed to be more than sufficient to achieve that. While we don't have any commitments on how that will work with the Department of Transportation yet, we have very constructive conversations on the process of establishing a mechanism to achieve these three specific improvements we've talked about. So our project is an important economic engine. I'm going to turn it back over to Gary to walk through some of the specifics here, wrap up, and then take questions from you.
Thank you, Greg. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you'll agree this is a beautiful resort development located in a spectacular place. We don't use the Caesars brand lightly. Indeed, it exists largely in Las Vegas, in Atlantic City, in Windsor, Ontario, and we wouldn't put it in this location if we didn't believe that the location could live up to the standards that the Caesars brand suggests to its visitors. I think, and I hope you'll agree, this would be a spectacular place to visit for many reasons. Let me conclude with a word or two about the financing of this project. Caesars is by far the most valuable domestic gaming company. Enterprise value of the company is in excess of $25 billion. Its financial structure is complicated. We, 2 years ago, created a subsidiary known as Caesars Growth Partners, created with the purpose of funding our growth for new projects like the Baltimore project that opened just a few weeks ago, and this one. This entity has in excess of $1 billion of cash today on its balance sheet. It is very lightly levered and therefore has very sound financial circumstances. And this project, Caesars New York, would exist within the Caesars Growth Partners category. This entity would generate more than $200 million to the benefit of the state of New York and its various local constituencies. Mayor Queenan and his colleagues would enjoy at least $10 million of that, and you see listed below the other benefits it would accrue to other parts of the state. So to conclude, we have made the argument that Caesars is in a position to provide the best use of this scarce license for the state of New York, for the local area, for Mr. Queenan's Woodbury, for the region broadly. We believe that this is the project that makes the pie the biggest. However it is that all of you choose to allocate the portions of that pie is, of course, up to you. But we believe we will bring more visitors to this area under the Caesars brand with its nearly 50-year history of luxury and prestige, renowned entertainment than any other brand could possibly bring to this region. The quality of the development, its siting on this beautiful location, the company's reputation for integrity, responsible gaming, and commitment to its communities, together we think will make a very special place, and we're honored to have the chance to present it to you. Please let me conclude with one more look at Caesars Entertainment. Chairman, every time I see that video, I think I should be having more fun in this job. That concludes Caesar's presentation. We're delighted to take your questions now.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Gary. And for those keeping track, I was just about to say the 5-minute warning at the start of the last video, but since you said in closing, and they finished within the time allotted, so thank you for sticking to the schedule. Since I have the mic, I'll start. A couple of questions. First, do you control the land? Do you own the land yet, or do you have an option to purchase? What's the status of the site?
Greg, why don't you describe the specifics?
Yeah, we've partnered with the Pflaum family, who has an option to secure all of the land necessary to execute the project.
And the $20 million you referred to regarding the traffic mitigation measures, was that based on an estimate that you got from DOT in your preliminary discussions with them?
The $20 million was sourced from identifying the specific areas of improvement, and there are a number of specific ones in our proposal related to how one would get from onto the 17 going south, widening the road, improving the traffic signaling. That $20 million relates to our own internal estimate of what it would cost to achieve that specific scope of work.
Okay. And Gary, I got one more easy one for you and then a more complicated one.
Please.
The easy one, the horseshoe facilities, those are in Ohio. Was that an acquisition, or did you develop them under that name for what reason?
So the new facilities in Ohio and in Baltimore are under the Horseshoe brand. We developed them. My right to use that name came from an acquisition in 2003 of the Horseshoe Gaming Company founded by Jack Binion. So we bought the existing 3 Horseshoe casinos at that time in Bossier City, Louisiana, Tunica, Mississippi, and Hammond, Indiana. And with it came the rights to develop under the Horseshoe name elsewhere, which we have done extensively since.
So there was no need to then change the name to Caesar?
No. We have a hierarchy of brands, Mr. Chairman, between Caesars, which we reserve only for resort destination locations. It would include things that Greg described, a hotel, a spa, retail, convention and meeting, entertainment venues, restaurants, and the like. The Horseshoe facility is a high-end gaming facility, but may not offer all of those amenities. So it suits the urban model we've developed in Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Baltimore very well, where a Caesars brand would not be available to us.
Okay, and the more maybe complicated one, I'm just intrigued by your experience, your expertise as the head of Caesars. How is Caesars doing in AC? Where do you see Atlantic City going and its impact on New York?
Well, that's a very important and timely question, as Governor Christie convened a summit on this subject just yesterday afternoon. Atlantic City gaming revenues have fallen from more than $5 billion to today near to $2.5 billion. The reason for that is principally the arrival of competition in proximate areas around Atlantic City that had historically served as the source of inbound drive-in traffic for short periods of gaming visits in Atlantic City, especially eastern Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. So the broader market has grown. The amount of gaming in the Mid-Atlantic region is up very substantially, but it has come to a very large degree at the expense of Atlantic City. For Atlantic City to stabilize at something like 2.2 or 2.4 billion of gaming revenue, the number it now enjoys, I believe we'll need to see several things. First, a reduction in supply, which you've seen recently with closures of casinos in the market. Second, a greater devotion to non-gaming services. So we're building a new conference center, which I think is badly needed, additional retail, additional nightclub, additional leisure activities, and a greater use of the natural beauty of the beachfront. And then I think a significant effort to clean up the city. The city's finances are in terrible shape. The city presents certain aspects to its visitors that we're not enthusiastic about. And I think the city and Governor Christie need to work collectively to make it a more desirable beachfront community in the way that you find other places up and down the Mid-Atlantic. So this is hard work. It's been a source of a great deal of pain for the city and for those of us who operate there, but I'm cautiously optimistic that the turn in the corner may be coming.
But if that turn in the corner comes, and again, we're all competing for those disposable gaming dollars.
Right.
And if the hope for your Southern Orange County facility is to draw upon the New York City metropolitan area, as if Atlantic City bounces back,
right,
how does that impact your economics?
I think it has very little effect. If you think about the proximity of visitation from the 5 boroughs of New York in particular, People who are looking for convenient gaming are going to the Connecticut facilities, to Sands Bethlehem, which is closer to New York City than we are by a wide margin, and are only coming to us today in Atlantic City if they're coming overnight for some period of days. Very little of that business comes to us in an area very close to New York and to the north, where we think a big chunk of the business for Orange County would come from. So Atlantic City has taken its worst blows, especially from Philadelphia, which was such a critical source of business into Atlantic City. There will be a few more blows, but none of them will be nearly so severe as what we've had thus far. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, we've engaged in the secret process locally with the Village of Woodbury, and the process is underway. Our expectation is that that process will be concluded by January. So shortly thereafter the conclusion of this process, whenever it would be. And no significant issues have come up through that process to date.
When would you welcome your first guest?
Well, we'd be in a position to 24 months after that to be able to welcome our first guest. We're very confident in that.
A couple of questions. The traffic improvements you've described, what if those take much more than $20 million? Are you guys committed to make whatever improvements are necessary to solve the traffic problem?
Well, let me take that and Greg can elaborate on it. In my experience, making an open-ended commitment to solving a traffic problem is a very difficult thing to do because the definition of what constitutes a solution is in the eye of the beholder. It's our professional view, based on quite a lot of expert study, that $20 million will resolve the issue as it currently exists in that exchange. I'm sure that there are people who would ask for more than that, and within reason, we would be supportive of doing more. But obviously, if someone were to suggest that a traffic solution in that area would be $500 million, I'm taking a ridiculously arbitrary number, but some dramatic number, there would be some limit to what we could support.
Well, I'm sure New York State doesn't want the open-ended bill for that either. So,
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
I said I'm sure New York State doesn't want an open-ended bill for that either.
No, I don't think they do either. I think there's a confluence of interest here, and I think the selection of a facility at this site would have the benefit of resolving a traffic problem that will exist even if a facility is not put at Orange County.
And as I heard your answer on financing, it sounded like there's capability, but I didn't hear the word commitment. Is the money committed?
The money is committed. So we have in excess of $1 billion of cash at Caesars Growth Partners, which would be the source of funding for the equity portion of this deal. Then we would seek financing through traditional bank financing sources for casino developments. We have letters of commitment to fund the necessary amount from typical first-tier banks.
Letters of commitment meaning they are committed?
They are committed if the assumptions put forth in the proposal are met. The typical language for these sorts of statements, that if the world is still as we think it is, if the licenses are committed the way they're thought to be committed, and so on, the bank is prepared to fund.
Thank you.
Stuart?
One last question, unfair question, but so what? But so two of the applicants, at least, I believe, well, one, in the Catskills, and perhaps somebody in Newburgh, thought that if there was a downstate license granted, down county, Orange County granted, they would withdraw. They would not proceed. Do you think, from your perspective, if this were you, if this were Caesars down there, that they're right, that you would take so much of their business away that you could not have a viable casino in the Catskills, for example?
No, I think this is a very well-posed question, but I believe that there would be a viable casino project in the Catskills, assuming the developer did not seek to overcapitalize it. And by that I mean they did not put forth too aggressive a capital plan for their development. The size of the Catskill market is limited. To the degree there are casinos built in areas that would take some portion of the inbound visitation, the size of that market goes down a bit, but our studies would indicate it goes down rather modestly. And the petitioner, the licensee, would simply have to be mindful of the size of facility they would operate. We operate several casinos that are smaller than the ones that would be envisioned in the Catskills if a license were to be awarded in Orange County. So I do think there's a viable business there. I think a $200 million gaming revenue business could exist at the proposed Catskill license sources, even if we were operating or one of our competitors were operating in this general vicinity. Now, I have to add, I'm trained as an economist, so forgive me, that makes me very bad social company, but it helps with these sorts of questions. The general idea is let's make the pie really big first and then cut the pieces. There's no question but that a casino at this location makes the New York State pie bigger. Then if there's an effort to reallocate the proceeds of that to the other constituencies, one can do that, and the political process is charged with that job. And the total of that exercise would be beneficial to the state, even though the Catskills Casino would have to be careful about its capitalization.
Thank you very much.
Gary, thank you and your team. Good job, and thank you for your presentation.
Members of the board, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Last up will be the Sterling Forest Resort in 5 minutes. Sterling Forest Resort, and some of you we saw earlier today.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chairman Law, members of the board. I was introduced earlier. I'm Christian Good, the president of Resorts World Orange County, the sponsor of the Sterling Forest Resort proposal. Given that it's been a long 2 days, I appreciate the efforts and the opportunity the board's presented us with to talk about the key aspects of our proposal. I will try to be concise and brief and walk through just the key aspects of the proposal. I will not revisit the credentials that were presented earlier of Genting, the Genting Group, and more specifically our track record here in New York State. Those credentials, I think, speak for this proposal as well. Joining me for the presentation today is Jessica Hoppe, Senior Vice President and General Counsel of Genting Americas, Paul Steelman, Principal, Steelman Architecture, Steelman Partners, and Larry Pozeski, Senior Vice President of Lewis Berger. In front of the board, you see a 1 to 600 scale model. The goal of the model is to give those members that were not familiar with the site intimately some perspective of what our proposed development looks like in terms of the context and the landscape of the surrounding area. In order to submit the best proposal we could, we conducted extensive due diligence, comprehensive research, and detailed analysis of the site and the opportunity presented by the Upstate Development Act of 2013. This effort was supported in whole and in part by several professional consulting firms, Steelman Partners, Lewis Berger, Philip Habib and Associates, traffic engineering experts, Cleary Gottlieb, Kimberly Horn, Drake Loeb, local land use, planning, and environmental issue counsel, and as well as Union Gaming Analytics and Marquette Advisors to advise on the overall market opportunity. I would like to take the moment and show the board a brief video that kind of gives a high-level introduction of the project. As you might have saw scrolling on the screen are some of the key elements. We will delve into our detailed presentation after this brief video.
The media is full of doom and gloom stories about the decline of regional gaming. Now, to replace jobs and taxes lost by recently shuttered Atlantic City casinos, New Jersey is considering new casinos in the northern part of the state, with their sites focused on targeting the New York City domestic and tourist markets just across the Hudson, targeting billions of dollars from New York City. The stage is set for New York to lose much-needed funds for education and other services, potentially necessitating new taxes or reductions in state-mandated programs. Regional competition across state lines is beginning to look like a zero-sum game. But there is a viable long-term solution. Sterling Forest Resort. Set at the closest location to New York City permitted by law, and due to that proximity, the only site that can ensure long-term sustainability and competitiveness. Anchored by two major international attractions, Woodbury Common Premium Outlets and New York City, leveraging the attraction of the most recognized global city in the world, the leader in finance, culture, media, art, fashion, research, technology, education, and entertainment. With more Fortune 500 companies headquartered here in New York City than anywhere else, and hosts to over 50 million tourists a year, Sterling Forest Resort will be distinctively unique by focusing on attracting the $100 billion global casino market outside the U.S., the same international market that allowed the Las Vegas Strip to recover after the recession, primarily due to increased Asian baccarat play, demonstrating the success of cross-marketing by U.S. casino operators in Asia. Sterling Forest Resort, managed by the world-renowned Genting Group, using its 12 million player global database, together with the allure of New York City and an unmatched integrated resort in a picturesque setting, Sterling Forest Resort will be sustainable and competitive for decades to come. Over the next 10 years of the initial license period, Sterling Forest Resort will contribute approximately $4.6 billion to the state and local governments. And to prove our conviction, we are prepared to pay a $450 million upfront license fee that will allow for the expansion of economic development programs across the state's most economically disadvantaged areas. Additionally, we have offered to pay a 6% or $30 million per year supplemental tax on slot revenues that can be used for parks, recreation, and historic preservation. With a management team with extensive New York experience and the backing of a company with investment grade rating, Sterling Forest Resort will be a world-class integrated destination resort with unmatched amenities, focusing on recapturing New York gaming dollars and attracting tourist gaming dollars, in particular from the global casino market. A facility that all New Yorkers can be proud of.
So that's a brief introduction to the high-level aspects of our project. As you can see, our company is different. We've proposed something that we believe is unique and special that will ensure the long-term viability of this project as well as the industry in New York. Our detailed proposal is going to focus on 4 primary areas: economic activity and business development, where we'll discuss in-depthly the town of Tuxedo and the site that we've chosen, the master plan and architecture, as well as the environmental opportunities presented by this site. Second, we'll talk about how we plan to have the highest contribution to any local community of any applicant. We then intend to discuss the best workforce development plan. And then lastly, we'll conclude with remarks about the U.S. gaming industry that are relevant to this proposal and this process. The first and perhaps the most important step in ensuring that we identified a site that allowed us to fulfill the fundamental goals of the RFA, which are to maximize investment and economic benefits to New York State, provide the most benefits to the local community, and implement an appropriate and transfer workforce development plan. As you will note, as other applicants have stated, not all sites are created equal. It's critical to understand what makes one site superior to another. Traditionally in the U.S., the critical component to success relates to proximity to population. This isn't true of all consumer-driven industries such as retail and others, and it's true in the gaming industry. Previous presentations have highlighted the magnitude of the New York City market, estimated at being a $4 billion unsatisfied market. That's a derivative of the New York City composite statistical area of 23 million people, making this, quite frankly, the most significant opportunity in the U.S. today. Based on the legislation in a referendum that was approved by the voters of New York in November 2013, the legislation calls for the closest site to be located in the county of Orange, and the closest town, or the town nearest to the Orange County southern border, is the town of Tuxedo, the place where we found a site that we think is fantastic. In order for that site to be viable, it was important that we conducted the research, that we spent the time understanding the infrastructure in the area to ensure that the project is viable. When we bring 5 million vehicular trips to the area, when we have 1,000 hotel guests in our rooms, does all the infrastructure exist? Perhaps the most critical component of infrastructure needed is traffic related. Today, Tuxedo does not possess the necessary traffic-related infrastructure to host any large development project, say nothing about a project of this size. However, in our detailed research, we realized and we became quickly acclimated with the fact that the New York State Legislature in 1985 passed legislation that approved exit interchange 15B off the New York State Thruway. Not only would the interchange meet all the needs of the project, but it would also alleviate and provide relief of congestion on the existing roads of the town of Tuxedo, improve the environment in the town center, making it conducive for community-based activities, which it is not today. This problem is so significant that the town's own 2011 comprehensive plan update identified as just one critical factor to the long-term viability of the town and the region was improving traffic and constructing this interchange exit. Construction of 15B will be fully funded by our project, as well as the ongoing maintenance related to exit 15B. The exit will be open and operational well in advance of our opening of our casino project and will create an opportunity for the area residents. After locating the site and confirming that all the infrastructure was in place or could be in place, we realized we had the opportunity to build a truly remarkable facility. Now I'm going to ask Paul Steelman to come up and present the key design aspects relating to Sterling Forest Resort.
Thank you, Christian. Mr. Chairman, esteemed panel, thank you once again, Paul Steelman. I'm truly excited today to share with you an amazing building on an amazing site, the first true environmental casino. I have a great client in Genting. They developed the most diverse integrated resort in the world in Sentosa, Singapore. But very few people know that they also develop and operate a great ski area in China, the Secret Garden. I had the opportunity to ski at this resort last January, and it is spectacular. There's an old saying that if you want to be happy for a day, you might have a good meal, or happy for a year, you might fall in love. But if you want to be happy for a lifetime, plant a garden. And the garden was one of the key instruments, design instruments, that we put in this facility. Taking a cue from the beloved Longwood Gardens in Pennsylvania, Bouchard Gardens in Victoria, Canada, Sterling Forest Gardens will be the finest garden attraction in New York. It will become the most photographed part of this resort. A new ski area, a great Renaissance fair, will create experiences and memories that will be cherished by all families. It's my great honor to show you the next great National Park Hotel. It will be mentioned in the same sentence as the Ala Wahi in Yosemite or the El Tovar in the Grand Canyon. Sterling Forest Resort in Tuxedo.
Sterling Forest Resort, a world-class, sophisticated, integrated resort with countless amenities designed to appeal to casino players, entertainment seekers, and families from the United States and abroad. The resort is designed by one of the industry's leading architects, Paul Steelman. From my early days in Atlantic City to my current business based in Las Vegas, I've been involved in entertainment, hospitality, and gaming architecture for 37 years. I've been fortunate to design every type of casino and resort project imaginable. Since the first hotel on the Strip in 1941, Las Vegas has gone through 4 generations of casino design. Each generation has set a new standard. Today, casino design is transformed into a destination resort where non-gaming amenities play an important role in every successful gaming facility. In my work overseas, it struck me that there is another very successful approach: the integrated resorts in Asia. Pioneered by the Genting Group's success in Singapore, the integrated resort of the future offers much more than a casino. A destination place with a significant component for families to enjoy, welcoming all ages to play indoors and out, gaming and non-gaming. This concept has been so successful that it is being adopted in Japan and other new jurisdictions. When the Genting Group approached me to design a gaming facility for New York, I knew it was an opportunity to continue their successful strategy for an integrated resort. The old ski center, built 30 years ago, will be renewed to a modern, first-class, Aspen-like ski facility. The Sterling Forest Gardens, once opened by Queen Beatrix of Holland, will be rebirthed into new light. And the Renaissance Fair, which operates only 17 days per year, will now be utilized in all seasons. Featuring an autumn maple festival, an ice and snow festival, and days of blossoming spring. Sterling Forest Resort is benchmarked against the best in the country. with a 1,000-room, 5-star hotel of 4 Seasons or Ritz-Carlton quality. 19 restaurants, lounges, and clubs with leading concepts by New York's own Tao Group and Butter Group. A world-class spa operated by the internationally renowned Spa, with presence in New York City. And of course, private gaming salons for the Asian clientele and premium players, with dining, lounge, and karaoke facilities. Modeled after the grand estates built in New York at the turn of the 20th century, Sterling Forest Resort captures the heart and spirit of a celebrated time when the Gold Coast of Long Island's North Shore came into fashion. This magical yet classic resort invites guests to dream of the intoxicating riches of life. Moments of the imagination are recreated throughout the interior, where a timeless style meets a current fashion. With my 37 years of experience working in over 20 countries, I can say without a doubt that Sterling Forest Resort will provide a unique offering that will attract national and international guests. They will enjoy an integrated resort which cannot be found anywhere else throughout the United States, so close to New York City. This will be a facility that New York can be very proud of. Thank you.
The chairman wanted us to create a resort which celebrated New York's incredible seasons from both an indoor and outdoor perspective. He envisions a resort that will be historically loved, not for a year or two, but for a time-defying 50 years. The Genting chairman mandated that our design be an integrated resort, not a box-like casino, and he wanted to create a resort which focused on families and VIP gamblers. He and Genting wanted to build a significant new tourist attraction not only for New York's many visitors, but even for its natives, a resort that the state could be proud to call its own. Casino design should focus on something people will love to tell in the story of their lives. Creating a memorable group of experiences is very important to the chairman, to Genting, and I hope you feel that way. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to introduce Larry to give you a little bit of talk on the environmental conditions at the site. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and board members, good afternoon. My name is Larry Paseski. I am managing the environmental impact assessment process under SECRA and other environmental laws. I was born in Elmira, educated in environmental economics and the sciences at Cornell. I have 30 years of major EIS experience in Orange County and elsewhere in New York. As you see from the model before you, the project is located in an environmentally sensitive setting, most specifically at the edge of Sterling Forest State Park. Genting is very familiar with operating in such settings. Its Norwegian Cruise Lines operates in Alaskan coastal waters and treats its wastewater to a standard higher than the wastewater treatment of the Alaskan coastal communities. Recognizing the predominance of the park for this project, Genting selected a team of environmental experts with familiarity with the project area. Key among these experts is Steve Horowitz of Cleary Gottlieb, who is here today. Steve has a deep history with Sterling Forest State Park, given the pro bono council work he did for the environmental groups that spearheaded the formation of the park in 1998. Steve has also led the liaison between the team and various environmental groups. Many groups are in opposition to the project. We recognize that. But our team has proactively reached out to the groups to engage them in dialogue, to discover what the issues are, so that we could go back and work on resolving those issues. One of the results of this collaboration, I wouldn't call it collaboration, this dialogue, is the reduction of wetland impacts from the original site plan to the current site plan of 70%. This short video now will demonstrate some of the other environmental
Sterling
solutions.
Forest Resort will be an environmentally conscious development that respects the beauty of its surroundings. The resort's 238-acre site has been an extensively used tourist destination for over 60 years. Protecting the scenic forested setting is critical and important to the resort's success. However, current ventures on the site are not overly successful, and the state of the property, as of now, is dilapidated.
And this project is a redevelopment project
And that's what the town desires. The town's master plan basically says they want to put new development where there's had previously been development. So this site has been disturbed, extensively disturbed in the past, and placing the bulk of the development on areas that have already been disturbed basically maintains that buffer between the site and the surrounding parklands.
The existing land is barren, brown topsoil and pavement, disturbed from the creation of the failed airstrip, parking lots, and surrounding structures, creating uncontrolled runoff and pollution. Through researching the environmental concerns and consulting leading environmentalists, issues such as impact on watershed, traffic, and viewshed protection have been at the forefront of the design of Sterling Forest Resort. The site is currently served by a 1960s-era wastewater treatment facility that produces Class C discharge. The new, approximately $25 million water reclamation facility will treat all water used on-site to drinking water standards.
The interchange design is significantly affected by its environment. The interchange has to be as tight as possible. We're trying to keep the lanes to be as few as possible, and we're trying to tighten up the footprint.
This building will be far above LEED certification as far as windows, as far as lighting, as far as building envelope.
Over 10% of the resort's electricity will be supplied by solar panels placed atop the parking structure, generating over 1,500 kilowatts of clean green power. Additionally, the resort will be LEED Gold certified and will create minimal light pollution through the use of LEDs and downcast fixtures. The resort will be built on less than 20% of the total site, impacting less than 3 acres of wetlands, while preserving trees and restoring native plant species in the area. Sterling Forest Resort, environmentally conscious and sustainable.
I'd like to highlight a few before and after points here. There's a story to be told, some of which you heard in the video. I want to focus on stormwater, wetlands, and energy. In stormwater, right now, there's unmanaged discharge. Runoff flows into Indian Kill Creek, untreated. After the resort is constructed, stormwater will be managed through treatment and filtration. Wetlands, currently unmanaged. These wetlands will be restored and enhanced, and there will be a net increase in wetlands on the property following the construction of the resort. Energy, currently no renewable energy generated on the site. As you heard in the video, 10% from solar will make this one of the largest private solar projects in the state. This same environmental commitment is being applied to Interchange 15B planning. This project was authorized by the New York State Legislature in 1985, and but for poor capital cost recovery, it probably would have been constructed by now. Genting is taking care of the capital for the project with a $30 million investment that will provide a direct highway access between the New York State Thruway to the casino property. The design is being accomplished so that there will be no parkland impacted by the construction of the interchange and no wetlands impacted by the construction of the interchange. This interchange is in the Tuxedo comprehensive plan for a reason. It will benefit the community of Tuxedo. It's been long sought by the community. It will also have regional benefits in terms of regional traffic flow and regional air quality improvement. I will now introduce Jessica Hoppe, who will focus on other community benefits provided by the resort. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Good afternoon, Chairman Law and members of the board. As you've heard, Sterling Forest Resort is committed to being a good environmental citizen and will offer the greatest regional benefits of all the proposals before you. The site upon which the resort is to be built was designated for new commercial development, specifically tourism-related activities, by the town of Tuxedo in its 2011 comprehensive plan. The local community will benefit from the host community agreement, which will fully offset any impact of the resort, and its measures will improve the quality of life for the town as well as the surrounding areas. We enjoy public support from the town, other local municipalities, hundreds of local businesses, and have partnerships with local businesses and regional entertainment venues. Sterling Forest Resort is geographically and strategically positioned to make a significant economic impact on the town of Tuxedo and the region, bringing new, well-paying careers and attracting national and international visitors who will partake in all the region has to offer. And now we'd like to show a short video so you can hear directly from the residents of the region as well as the town and what Sterling Forest would mean to them.
Sterling Forest Resort will be a contributing member of the Tuxedo community, Orange County, and the state of New York. The $1.5 billion resort will create real careers for both locals and the region's most economically disadvantaged. From towns like Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, and Middletown, Sterling Forest Resort will operate regional transportation centers for employees, providing a shuttle service that will allow New Yorkers from the surrounding area access to a well-paying career. The result will be enhanced and accelerated growth in the region's economy.
Whereas you've seen development to the north in Monroe and south in Mahwah, tenfold population growth. Tuxedo has stayed relatively the same.
I think in 5 to 10 years you're going to see an area that's completely reborn. The Greenwood Lakes of the world will have a complete rebirth back to its heyday. You'll see new families coming in because of the amount of jobs that'll be created.
Live entertainment venues from Bethel Woods to Museum Village have entered into agreements to ensure there is mutual benefit from Sterling Forest Resort. Additionally, the city of Port Jervis, the village of Greenwood Lake, and the towns of Stony Point and Deer Park have all pledged their support to Sterling Forest Resort. Local schools will also be supported, as Sterling Forest Resort will provide over $37 million per year to both Tuxedo and Monroe Woodbury schools.
We are a community that is fiscally challenged. Not only the town, of course, schools everywhere have fiscal challenges. So I'm optimistic that with Sterling Forest we will see some growth in development as well as increased revenues.
Just the opportunity, the repercussions of that school battling or closing down, or Greenwood Lake being affected, the trickle effect affects this town, it affects Orange County, affects the state of New York.
New Yorkers in surrounding communities will realize a shorter commute and less time spent in traffic, thanks to the creation of Exit 15B off the New York State Thruway.
Whether you're going to the train station in Tuxedo, or driving to the train station in Suffern, or proceeding further along to New York City, obviously it would lessen the congestion if we did have the Thruway exit.
With greater access to the area, New Yorkers in the surrounding region will be able to efficiently commute to a job at Sterling Forest Resort. RW Orange County LLC has committed $60 million to the host community to support local projects, and over $25 million per year will be paid to the town of Tuxedo in property taxes and gaming revenue.
What we're finding out is the tax base is shrinking. The fact that there's a partner that's going to come in and do their fair share, pay their way, and offset that shrinking tax base.
Sterling Forest Resort will be a contributing member of the Tuxedo community, stick to its word, and make good on its commitments to the region and New York State.
As you've heard in the video, Sterling Forest Resort is a long-awaited development in the town of Tuxedo as well as the region. Sterling Forest Resort has the right combination to design an environment as well as the financial ability to construct Exit 15B. Additionally, with the $60 million payment via the host community agreement, we have the ability to offset any impacts to the community as well as the town of Tuxedo. Further, $10 million of that $60 million is being identified to purchase future parkland. The resort will provide positive recurring tax impacts for the state, county, town, the Monroe Woodbury School District, and will make a significant economic contribution to the Tuxedo Union Free School District. But beyond tax revenue and monetary contributions, Sterling Forest Resort will change the lives of more than 4,000 individuals with salaries of $75,000 annually, double the national average for casinos in the United States, initial training, continued on-the-job training, and the potential to grow into any position we offer unprecedented career opportunities for our employees. Our wages reflect our commitment and our belief that each employee should earn a living wage, and our recognition that the cost of living is higher near New York City. And as you've learned today, these statements are not just aspirations. We are offering similar careers and opportunities at Resort World Casino New York City, where we have negotiated successful contracts with the Hotel Trades Council and other unions. As noted by Peter Ward in the Resorts World Hudson Valley video, these employees have in fact moved to the middle class. In order to fulfill these 4,000 positions, our employees must come from the surrounding communities and counties. And although recent national employment statistics show a decrease in unemployment, as you've heard today, still plagues the lower Hudson Valley. And as this slide demonstrates, Orange County has the highest number of unemployed in the region. We will serve as a long-awaited employment center for the region's unemployed and underemployed. Our unique location is conducive to employment for the region's citizens, with easy commutes of less than 1 hour via Metro North or the well-developed highway system from the region's largest population centers. And as you've heard in the video, and you may have seen from our application, there has been an outpouring of support for our project from the town of Tuxedo, the village of Tuxedo Park, Orange County, as well as many other local municipalities and labor organizations from the surrounding region. We have also formed partnerships with numerous local and regional entertainment venues and businesses, and we look forward to a prosperous future with those partners. And now I turn it back to Christian to discuss our strategy.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Jessica. Just to expound a little bit on Jessica's last point about our partnerships with local governments, I'd be remiss, Orange County Deputy County Executive Wayne Booth and Chief Legal Counsel here present, strong supporters of the project. We've worked with them since day one. We've started implementing and developing the workforce development plan that Jessica touched on. So again, we appreciate your support. I'd now like to touch on some of the key regional, national, international gaming trends. Genting has invested in the U.S. hospitality industry for over 30 years. We've operated internationally for over 40 in gaming and hospitality. As you saw in the video, starting with Foxwoods in the gaming space, but even before that in the U.S. hotel industry. We think we've been able to develop a unique and keen insight into the local, regional, national, international markets based on our experience and our most recent experience at Resorts World New York City. As clearly indicated on the chart and highlighted earlier in the video, regional gaming is growing, but it's growing because of new jurisdictions or new facilities being opened in closer proximity to population. I think an earlier presentation highlighted this same fact. The only growth that the industry is seeing is from post-2003 facilities in new jurisdictions like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland. And it's also seeing growth in the Las Vegas Strip, both for two unique reasons. As highlighted earlier, Atlantic City is a perfect example of this phenomenon as new facilities opened in closer proximity to their primary markets of Philadelphia and to some degree New York with the new VLT facilities at Yonkers and at Aqueduct. Their revenues have continued to decline. Where once was a $5 billion market is now $2.5 billion, and with the recent announcement of Trump bankruptcy this morning, probably going down even further. The motto of the regional gaming operator has been somewhat similar to what Henry Ford coined over a century ago. You can buy a Model T any color you like, as long as it's black. The regional gaming industry is taking that same approach. We're going to build a facility that's going to have slots and tables, some hotel rooms, a couple restaurants for you to eat while you're there, and we expect you to come. That model works. That model works in the very short term, until there's another facility that's closer to the population you're trying to attract, or until there's another facility that's different, that's unique, that offers a true comprehensive entertainment experience. And that's exactly what Las Vegas has done. The Las Vegas gaming market is growing. As we indicated in the video, and you can see clearly here, the market as a whole is growing. It will surpass, if not this year, early next year, the gaming volumes or the peak volumes that they experienced in 2007. Almost a complete rebound. Unlike regional gaming, where Moody's and Fitch have downgraded the outlook because of the cannibalization, because of the parasitic behavior of regional gaming competition. When you look at this graph, it's clear that the growth is coming from table games. It's coming from new revenue generation, where table games is far surpassing what it ever did in the past. So what specific part of table games is growing. It's clearly the Baccarat segment. Baccarat is a game that's predominantly enjoyed by Asian and the Asian culture. Whereas it used to represent 10, maybe 20% on any given month of the Las Vegas Strip table game revenue, today it nearly occupies or provides 50% of the gaming revenue. We wanted to understand that, so we looked further. Why is that? Why is it driving that growth? Well, I think it's significant to think about what Las Vegas has done different than other regional markets. They've built and created the critical mass of a total entertainment experience. From the dozens of shows that you can go see on any given night, to the performances, to the singers, to the five-star restaurants, to the extensive high-end retail that exists in several places in Las Vegas. That particularly appeals to the Asian market. They have single-handedly offered a unique destination in the U.S. for gaming-centric VIP patrons coming to the U.S. experience. There is no other jurisdiction in the U.S. that's attracting VIP Asian gaming activity, only Las Vegas. And that's simply a result is it has all the amenities, has all the entertainment options. The Asian Pacific region, in China in particularly, is a growing economy. It's reported every day. It continues to grow, expand, so on and so forth. That economy is just like the U.S. economy was. It's creating new middle-class citizens. It's creating new upper-class citizens. Those are the fastest growing parts of the Asian community and the Asian Chinese population. Just like U.S., middle and upper class, those people like to enjoy entertainment. They like to enjoy the fruits of their labor. They like to travel. Their only gaming destination in the U.S. today is Las Vegas. We expect to change that. Sterling 4 will become their next gaming destination. Why is that? Because actually, getting to New York and getting to Sterling Forest is far easier than getting to Las Vegas. For example, on the chart you see Beijing. A direct flight from Beijing to New York takes 13 and a half hours. A direct flight doesn't exist between Beijing and Las Vegas. You have to connect through Los Angeles. The shortest amount of time you can make that connection is 15 and a half hours. That's assuming that you clear customs quickly, that you make your connection, you change terminals, so on and so forth. A very confusing and complex journey. It's interesting to note that the New York region currently hosts 26 daily nonstop flights from Asia, from Beijing, from Shanghai, from other parts of the Pan-Asian region. Those 26 daily flights from Asia, they come into 2 international airports that are conveniently located in an asset that Sterling Forest expects to leverage. Newark being 45 minutes from Sterling Forest, John F. Kennedy being just a little over an hour. Utilizing these 2 airports to entertain and to attract and to stimulate mass consumer demand travel internationally is significant. We believe this is one transportation alternative that will improve and increase the viability of Sterling Forest Resort. Furthermore, to tap in and to cater to the VIP market, we expect to utilize and leverage the underutilized Stewart International Airport, a regional asset that was grown with hopes of stimulating economic activity in the area have not come to fruition. However, the infrastructure still exists today. Our players in the international market can attract VIP charters. It can attract VIP gamers coming via private aircraft. Stewart International is perfectly designed, constructed, and operating to accommodate that VIP, that experience. In addition to Stewart International, we'll also utilize Teterboro, a local airport that only accepts private planes, but it does accept international private planes, whether it be from overseas, whether it be from Canada, whether it be from Mexico and Latin America. This destination is unique. Genting, the group as a whole, currently operates a fleet of 10 aircrafts, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. When Sterling Forest comes online, we expect to expand the fleet in order to accommodate the demand that we expect to stimulate and bring to Sterling Forest Resort. Why are they going to come here is the question. As we touched on earlier, they go to Las Vegas because it's a complete entertainment experience. So I'm a native New Yorker, and I think most people in this room are. We realize that New York City is the most attractive destination in the world. From an entertainment perspective, from the Broadway shows, to the full gourmet experience, from Michelin-star restaurants to celebrity chefs to all the attractions the area has to offer, from museums. It's the #1 shopping destination in the U.S., frankly, in the world. Interestingly enough, talking about some of the other regional assets, Woodbury Commons, located less than 10 miles from our facility, is the largest retail complex outside of major metropolitan area, and 40% of their visitation comes from international patrons. That's the same patron that will come to Sterling Forest Resort. Given the close proximity, Sterling Forest is 35 miles or 35 minutes from Midtown Manhattan. And we think we can continue and will leverage the other entertainment amenities, whether it be professional sports franchises or, frankly, the U.S. Open. I don't know how many people are aware the U.S. Open just completed yesterday. But last week, for the first time in the women's semifinals, they had a Chinese lady. She qualified. Do you know my phone rang no less than 10 times from my counterparts in Asia looking for access to tickets? Is there any way we could accommodate them? Because people wanted to come experience New York and go to the event. That's the kind of market we can leverage and bring to New York and to Sterling Forest Resort. More specifically, in talking about international...
5-minute warning.
International gaming opportunities. Most people don't realize that New York City is the home to the largest Asian population in the Western Hemisphere. It's a recipient of more foreign direct investment from China than any other city in the U.S. It's the most frequently visited U.S. destination with almost 55 million tourists annually, and it's the #1 U.S. destination of Chinese visitors with a year-over-year growth rate of nearly 20%. Most international and Asian gaming people are coming here for the entertainment options, but they're also coming here because they send their kids to go to school here. NYU, Columbia, other fine institutions in the region. So how will we track the international market share, and what does it look like? The gaming market today is a $164 billion market, $100 billion of which resides outside the U.S. We believe we can leverage it through various means, but more precisely, we wanted to know what that market looked like. We commissioned Union Gaming to do a comprehensive market analysis so we fully understood what the potential of international gaming was. Some of the key facts that we learned is that Las Vegas already receives $2 billion in international gaming. Casinos outside of Macau, the Asian gaming mecca, receive $2.5 billion in Chinese gaming. In London, which features small boutique casinos, much smaller than what you see here in the United States, attracts $500 million. Clearly, New York can attract more than that, given all the amenities that we've discussed. The end of the result of the study indicated two things. One is that we can expect conservatively $200 million in annual gaming revenue, and most likely, once stabilized, closer to $500 million, if not more. These figures represent a very small market percentage of the overall market. We will attract them by leveraging our international database that's comprised primarily of patrons from Hong Kong, Manila, Singapore, Malaysia, United Kingdom, and as well as our Resorts World New York facility. These overseas locations will become key marketing agents for this property, introducing and exposing it to world markets, and particularly international VIP gamers. Not only do we have these operating facilities, we also have 32 marketing offices across 5 continents and 27 offices. We believe this is the key to our success. The one thing that we need to know is that New Jersey is recently been well reported that they're considering expanding gaming in northern New Jersey. I think it's important to note that our facility is sustainable, even if that competition comes. And the rationale for that is simple. We're building something unique. Our resort success will not be generated just on proximity to population, but uniqueness of destination. We will provide entertainment options that nobody else provides. We will create a relationship with the patron that stimulates international visitation as well as regional market recapture. Specifically, we wanted to analyze financially what did that mean, right? So when we opened or shortly thereafter, we modeled and looked at what New Jersey casinos would mean to our project. Whereas we start out with 65% of regional gaming activity, meaning recapture of New York dollars coming in from other jurisdictions that aren't coming here today. We also have 16% of what we call domestic visitation, which is Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others, and 20% of international, which is derived out of our database and out of exposing the property to a worldwide audience. We expect that international to grow to 45% of our market share, We expect the domestic tourism market to stay the same and still represent 15 or 16% of the overall revenues. And we do think the new facilities, because their closer proximity, will have an impact on our regional revenues. We think that'll shrink to become 40%, but overall revenue will grow. We think this same trend is true if you put unique resorts anywhere else in the lower Hudson Catskill region. If you build a distinct property, you can have more than one, and they're both can be sustainable. Just in summary, one of the important factors that I think the board is interested in is certainty of completion. As Larry noted, our SECRA process is underway. We expect to be complete by 12/31. We have development expertise in, most recently in New York City, but also worldwide in our Singapore project of developing very large-scale projects in the shortest amount of time. Perhaps one of the most important factors is certainty of financing. Today we have over $6 billion US dollars of cash on hand utilized, and we can self-finance this project. That doesn't mean we might not look to capital markets. In the event that we do, we have 6 commitment letters, hard commitment letters from the large U.S. banks, such as Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, the list goes on and on. The significant important point is we have a proven development track record in New York and worldwide. We have extensive international experience in marketing databases, and we have the financial means to execute this strategy successfully. Just real quick, talk about next steps. If a decision is made early fall, which has been publicly reported, could happen. Our SECRA process is ongoing. We expect that to be done by the end of the year. Once a decision is made final, we expect that the board and the New York State Gaming Commission will complete licensing, hopefully by the first quarter, if not sooner. As soon as that's completed, we would expect to pay our license fee that we've proposed, the $450 million, by the end of the state's fiscal year, 3/31, or potentially by the end of the calendar year, 12/31/2014. In summary, Sterling Forest is the best option for very simple reasons. One, it's closest to the largest domestic market in the U.S. It can capitalize on that. It can provide an option to that underserved market. Two, it's sustainable, short-term, and more importantly, long-term, in the face of competition in New Jersey or other facilities within New York State, because it's convenient to global markets, because its operators has a global track record of being successful. Our $1.5 million in capital investment up front is almost $1.2 billion in strictly capital. And we also, on top of that, will have the $450 million license fee. We'll generate $283 million in annual reoccurring tax revenue for the state of New York. That includes a 6% supplemental fee on top of the 39% required by the RFA. And lastly, and perhaps more importantly, to the long-term impact of this project, it's going to create 4,000 good-paying careers, people that earn a living wage. With that concludes my formal remarks. More than happy to entertain questions from the board. Myself, the team that presented, as well as our entire professional consulting team is over the side. More than happy to answer any questions.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and you were right on time. I was just going to cut you off, so time. Although I thought you'd be shorter since we saw you earlier.
I did. Unfortunately, I figured out I had more to say. I apologize.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions, and then after our questions, I'll have some general comments about the process for all the applicants. In terms of the site itself, so you have the whole Sterling Forest Preserve. Your site is 230 acres. That is privately owned and not part of the state park, and do you guys own it and control it, or are you in contract to purchase it?
Chairman Law, great question. I'm going to answer the second one first. We control the site via an option agreement with the landowners. We have full access, full rights to execute immediately upon selection, so that's of no issue. The site is 238 plus or minus acres. It is immediately adjacent to Sterling Forest Park. The effort that culminated in 1998 creation of Sterling Forest Park, during that process, it was specifically called out and identified that this site should be developed. This site was intentionally not included in the 22,000 plus or minus acres that were incorporated in the park. The previous owners and the environmental groups in the state came to the conclusion that this site should be left for development.
And as for, actually, if you go back to page 6. When you say exit 15A, 12 million and exit 16, 17 million. What are those
So
estimated?
that's the actual visitation that goes through those exits today. A
I-
lot of
I-
that traffic.
Daily?
Yeah, daily, or annually, I'm sorry.
Annually. And those are DOT numbers?
Those are DOT numbers.
All right.
The
And-
interesting part about that is, just so I'm clear, is that's what's going through. Most of that is transient traffic going farther upstate. So when you get off and you avoid the toll, because 15A is non-tolled, and avoid the toll, people go through. In Tuxedo, the hamlet of Tuxedo is actually a 4-lane highway. If you try to make a left during rush hour, it's nearly impossible.
For us downstaters, I don't know if somebody on your team could answer. So if I'm heading up the thruway and I see the stop I normally stop at after I get through the city at Sloatsburg, is 15B proposed before that or after that service stop at Sloatsburg?
After it going northbound.
Did I see golf on your plan?
We do not have golf on our plan.
Is there a future?
We have no plans to introduce a golf course. We think that that's an amenity served for other places, and I think other applicants have proposed it. We're focused more on the Sterling Forest Gardens and regenerating, rejuvenating that area. We think that's a great, actually, international attraction. So no.
You said several times that you're aiming for the VIP high player. What does that mean for the other people who live in the area who will come? Will they be priced out of your resorts?
These resorts, and I think that's a great question. These resorts are designed on the idea of you're targeting certain market segments. But our goal is never to price anybody out of the market. Are we going to have $5 tables? No. Given the labor rates that we're committed to pay and provide people earn a living wage, those things aren't viable. But what is viable is $25 and $50 tables, and we'll yield that like any other gaming facility or any gaming floor in the Northeast or frankly, nationally.
And the same goes for hotel rates and things like that.
Exactly.
You'll have a high roller area, and you'll have
Yeah, we'll have specialty casinos that we touched on that are upscale and have a higher price point. We'll also have suites, and we'll have the spa that's tailoring to it. Excuse me. Frankly, a different clientele, but people aren't going to be priced out of the area. We want people to come and enjoy a weekend, enjoy one night, enjoy a week. And that's the magic of creating several amenities, not just gaming-centric amenities, but entertainment-centric amenities. And, our partnership with places like Bethel Woods allow us to create unique experiences. Long term, that's what makes a property sustainable and viable.
You undoubtedly heard some of the protests, and I understand you've engaged them.
Correct.
Do you want to say anything about their points and your view of that?
Sure. I mean, we've taken the proactive approach from day one. As talked about in the presentation and Larry pointed out, we've engaged organizations such as OSI, such as NRDC. We continue to engage organizations, whether, recently I had a discussion with the Appalachian Trail Conference, the New Jersey environmental groups. We want to be open and constructive in this process and be collaborative. And in order to properly identify what their concerns are, we have to have a conversation. We don't want to read about it in the newspaper. I'm more than happy to sit down in front of anybody and address what their concerns are. The key thing about what we've done from an environmental perspective is it's evolving. Through the statutory process or the SECRA process, you go through and identify all the impacts. All these groups have input in that process. The town's retained best-in-class professionals to help them and assist them and evaluate those. Everybody has a voice, and we will meet with anybody, and we'll talk about their concerns, and we will do everything we can to address their concerns. And frankly, we've done that. As Larry pointed out with wetlands, we started out with a much bigger footprint, but after discussions, we realized that we could do it with less, and it was the right thing to do, so we did it. So we're actually going to have a net benefit factor from a perspective of wetlands rejuvenation, to be quite honest with you. And that conversation, we think, will continue through the entire EIS process. Everybody knows how to get a hold of me. We have an open door policy, and we'll continue to have that open door policy.
Going back to the proposed 15B issue, you're agreeing to pay for the entire exit?
Correct.
And have you had discussions with DOT about some type of public-private partnership to be able to do that? Or are you expecting them to do it and to send you the bill?
No. We've actually, early on in the process, we engaged in discussions with New York State DOT, and more specifically the New York State Thruway Association, to understand the technical details and requirements, first and foremost, to make sure we could build it. As Larry pointed out, we can build it within the existing easement. We can build it without impacting wetlands. So, that was a big success or a big factor in our thought process. But further to that, we talked about an ongoing maintenance agreement because we plan to pay for any maintenance that's required with the interchange. But more importantly, we talked about getting those agreements in place. So we've started and used the typical, or what I call standard, draft form agreement. We're ready to proceed with that. Ongoing discussions on a technical and that document continue today. As a matter of fact, I think there was one this morning, and we expect to complete that process in a very near future.
Thank you. I had one last question on the proposed license fee. If I heard you correctly, you've agreed to pay, if you received a license, a $450 million license fee?
That's correct.
It's pretty significant, and if I'm not incorrect, from all the materials I've been reading over the last few weeks, it is certainly the largest that has been proposed. I assume there's some conditions attached to that, and what are they?
Frankly, the things that we need to understand is that the gaming regulations have to come out. We're very comfortable that they're going to be, industry standard or competitive with other industries and not prohibit us. Other than that, there's no condition. We'll write you the check today.
One more question from me. We're issued a
Could you make it out to Hofstra University, please?
More than happy to. Just send that in my award letter that's where you want it to go. More than happy to.
That was a joke. Please let.
If you're awarded a casino license in New York, will you be out of the competition with regard to the possible competitive casinos to be worked on in New Jersey across the river?
I think it's a fair question. Today we have no interest in New Jersey. We've never had in Atlantic City or any other parts of New Jersey. We don't know what's going to evolve there, and I think it's a long-term process. I don't think it's going to get solved in this week, this month, or frankly this year. So I can never say never, but today our focus is Sterling Forest Resort. This is where we want to make the investment. This is where we think it's a unique opportunity to capitalize on a region, capitalize on a landscape, and truly create a unique destination, international resort.
Stu, and I repeat, that was a joke before?
No, I have no further jokes or questions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Again, I'd like to thank Chairman Law and the members for the opportunity. Any follow-up questions that the board may have, please contact us directly. More than happy to provide any additional information that's necessary or could help you in this process.
Well, I think your folks just drowned out everything you just said, but I sort of heard it. I got the gist. Well, folks, here's where we are after hearing presentations for 2 days. We are not making any decision today or soon, and all the folks in the yellow shirts, we will be having public hearings in a couple of weeks where we will listen to the comments from the public. We have a team of consultants helping us digest the voluminous amount of data that has been submitted to us. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, still. And we anticipate being able to make some decisions in the month of October, certainly after the public hearings. But it's, we're not going to hold ourselves to any particular deadline. We want to make sure we get the decisions right as opposed to quickly. But that's what the game plan is. So there'll be opportunities for public comments. There'll be opportunities for you to submit public, things for the public record. To the extent we have questions for all of the applicants, we will, do that process as well in terms of needing additional information or clarifications. All of that will happen over the next couple of weeks. On behalf of the entire, Site and Location Board, we want to thank all of you. We know this was a tremendous amount of work to put in both for the applications and for these presentations. You had our attention for the 2 days. You answered our questions. We thank you for your presentations and for your commitment and your desire to invest in the state of New York. So on behalf of all of us, thank you, and stay tuned.